Welcome and welcome back, Changemakers. Hello, if you are new here, my name is Kira Siva. I am a spiritual mentor and healer, and today we are going to look at the rest of your 2025. I have never done one of these. I typically stick to life purpose and soul growth, but this was a request by one of the viewers, and so we're going to dive in. It's going to be a ton of fun. The videos might be a little bit longer today, just because I have 4 topics to go over: love, work, money, spiritual growth, and just the overall vibe of the rest of your 2025. So stick around for that. Grab a cup of tea. And before we jump in, don't forget to sign up and join my Patreon live Q&A on Saturday, October 18th, I think it is. Anyways, it will be posted on the channel posts, the community area, and we are going to be talking about death, and not in a morbid way, but in understanding that spiritual portal, understanding what happens when somebody passes on. There are a lot of people out there that have just a really special relationship with that area of life, much like people have a special relationship with doing birth work. There is a lot to do in the spiritual world with death work, and it's a time and space that is safe, that is protected, that is showing up to the conversation in a really respectful and death positive manner, where we can actually talk about that transition, talk about the energy behind that transition, and just provide some deeper insight to that. And again, it's a super respectful conversation because these are the natural processes and forces of life. And part of people's big problems in the world is that they don't know how to come to terms with this area of life. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, check out the link in the description. And if you don't yet know, I have spots open in my 10-week spiritual mentorship program. That is where I take you through really your spiritual growth and giving you the foundation that you need, the container that you need to understand, one, the energy of transformation, and then so many of the spiritual concepts and lessons that are important for you to learn and grow and integrate and develop. I have all planned out in that 10-week program, and it does include actual energetic work and actual energetic integration. So if you have been missing out on you're like, I really want somebody to help me really fine tune my intuition, really help me understand energy, really help me bring all of the different various beliefs and, concepts that I'm pulling from all the traditions from all over, because we're a very DIY spirituality society, and really bring it into one container that makes sense, that gives us some support, some structure, and actually helps you grow. The link is in the description to apply for that. It's such a great thing to have, and it's something that I wish I had when I was going through my spiritual awakening. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. This is pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. Pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. Pile number 1. All right, let us dive in to the rest of your 2025. If you skipped the intro, this is the first time I am doing one of these, and so I'm very excited to do it. This was requested by a viewer. I normally stick to life purpose and spiritual growth, but I am excited to test out something new. So it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to do this in a YouTube format this way. But let's dive in. So over here, we have your overall vibe for the rest of your 2025, your spiritual growth, your work and money, and then your love life. So first, let's dive into the overall vibe of the rest of your 2025, the energy that you will, basically be feeling for the rest of the year. It's interesting because you have commitment being tested, collaboration, and be bold and make the first move. So a lot of the rest of your 2025 is going to be about you going out there and networking, building up your support system, making friends, making new relationships. It's really a time, it looks like a time like it's going to be very focused on your career growth, on your external network, social community growth. And it's a time for you to put yourself out there it's, I say that, and as somebody that's like actively going out to meet new people and do new things, it takes some courage and some bravery to go out into the world and put yourself out there and say hi to people and ask if they want to be your friends, and like go out and do something where you don't know the people involved. So this is really how the rest of your year is going to go. You have what it takes to go out there and do that. And the important thing about this is that you are going to find people that you can work well together with, that you can collaborate with. So if you're growing your YouTube channel, if you are growing your business idea, if you are networking to find a new job or to get a job promotion, this is a really strong indicator that it's a really great time. Or if you are ready to make friends, this is a good sign that you will have the stamina, oomph, extrovertedness necessary to go out and actually build new relationships and make new friends, which is great. And it's the holiday season is coming up. So there's probably going to be a lot going on with the holiday. Now, these are going to be the beginnings of relationships. We see both of these. They're not full moons. They've just started, right? The first quarter moon, the cardinal moon. These aren't the fullness of the experience. This is you just getting going. Now, down here in your work and career, you're going to have some really interesting choices. And it's your guidance with this is that this is a time where you're going to have to make some very significant decisions. The guidance is to not be complacent, right? Don't just stick to the comfort zone. Don't just stick to daydreams. Don't just stick to the ideas and allowing the ideas to make you feel good. You have to really choose action. There is going to be some changes and shifts happening, and ultimately, the tower doesn't have to feel like an enormous thing. This could be something like you're going through a job change, or you have to suddenly sell your house, or you might go through some kind of financial hardship, right? Not to scare you, but it's one of those things where you're getting the heads up that there are some things coming up in the future. So you know now that you can start being more strategic, you can brace yourself, you can go out there. If you have any like insecurity about your job, this is a good time to start getting those resumes out there. Start a good time to go networking. It's just this time of, it's kind of interesting that this Two of Wands, one is looking at this sort of complacent work with a big change to it. And then this other wand is looking over at your love life. So it's almost like you're still going to need to pay attention to your work and money. And you might also feel a little distracted by your love life or the lack thereof in the rest of the season, the rest of this year. So these don't necessarily have to be really negative impacts. It's just basically saying like, there may be some bumps in the road. You can learn how to drive around them. You've got the heads up that they're coming. Just use a little bit of strategy, use a little bit of thoughtfulness. And the most important thing is don't get lost in the fantasy. Whatever fantasy that you have, if you aren't physically bringing that out into the world, like you're like, oh, I hate my job and I would love to have another job. Well, don't wait until you get laid off. Don't wait until you're so stressed that you hate every single moment you wake up to that job, right? This is a time to say, you know what? I can implement change in my own life. I don't need it implemented for me by the universe. I can do it myself. I can move myself to a better house. I can move myself to a better work situation. I can move myself to a better business partners. I've had this business idea forever. I'm taking the next steps. And that's the most important part of this message is don't get lost in your daydreams. You be the change. You implement the change that you want. Change has to come anyways. So just make sure you're in the driver's seat of that change. Over here in your love life, this feels very hermity, introverted. It's really interesting. It's almost like you take the rest of 2025 to just chill on your love life and you're really focused on loving yourself. really focused on bettering yourself, really focused on experiencing the wholeness and the deeper levels of love, of self-care, of boundaries, of really pouring in the compassion that you wish a partner were pouring into you, right? So you become the partner that you are hoping that you could have. I don't see you being upset or stressed about this. It feels very much like like you're at peace. You're just like, yes. If you're with somebody, you're like, this is fine. Everything's going smoothly. And it's really just been about you having more of an inward focused experience about everything, having more of a contemplative, sort of quiet experience about your relationships. Or if you're single, you're just like, this has been a really important time for me to heal, to rejuvenate, and to really understand what my actual values are. I know what I don't want. And now I can really look at, if those are the things I don't want, then what has to be true? What is it that I do want? How do I flip that, right? You're also going to have a lot of inspiration. If you are out looking, I think you're going to find some people coming up, because this inspiration to me is sort of like ooh, that person's cute. Oh, that person's cute. But even in dating, you're very grounded, detached. Like, you're like, I'm enjoying this process of dating. And also, I'm not giving in to any fantasies. Like, my feet are on the ground, my boots are on the earth. Let's see how they actually behave step by step by step, which is really beautiful. It feels very peaceful. It feels very balanced. It feels very unbothered. And that is such a great thing, because that means there's not going to be chaos in your love life in the rest of 2025. It's so much more serenity. And that could also mean if you are partnered with somebody that you just go through a really smooth spell with them. Like, life is smooth. You guys have got your day-to-day figured out. You've got your interactions figured out. Like, you were just flowing together through life. You are both flowing with the rivers of life, and it's working out really, really well. All right, up here we have your spiritual growth. So often, a lot of times our romantic inclinations wind up really coming out spiritually as well. So it's time to show the world the real you. It's literally time to show the world the real you. That's literally the cards. So for your spiritual growth, this is a time for you to take all of that great self-love, to take the peace, to take the serenity that you are finding in other areas of your life, and get out there. Actually, your whole entire top row is really about putting yourself out there. If you do any kind of spiritual business or spiritual work, and this doesn't, you don't have to be an astrologer or healer or guide or anything like that, but there is this call to saying, you have done so much amazing spiritual growth. It is time to share those gifts with the world. It is time to put yourself out there and really enjoy getting to meet people. So maybe you are looking for a spiritual community. You're always welcome to check me out over on Patreon Live or TikTok. But the other part of that is just like, you are ready to go out and meet friends. You are ready to go out and find more spiritual community. You are ready to go out and walk through your life as the embodied version of all of this work you've put into yourself, because I can tell you are somebody who has put a lot of work into yourself, and that's beautiful, right? When we get refined, when we feel cultivated, when you've just really gotten super familiar with your interior world, it is such a gift to the world to go and be that with other people, to share your ideas, to share your stories, to share your perspectives. It's truly, truly a beautiful thing. So go out there and show people that. Teach a class, go do something fun. It's also interesting that both of these cards are looking towards the past. There could be times in your past where you didn't feel like you could share your spirituality. You didn't feel like you could share your authenticity. And now is the time for you to really move past that because you're ready. You've done everything you need to do. And it's really about just like kicking fear in the butt and having it go away and just being like, actually, no, it's fine. It's totally fine. People are fine with it. And the people you meet are going to be fine with it overall. I think, yeah, this is a huge time for you to really, really be growing your social network. It's really incredible. Okay, pile number 1. If you like this reading, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, join me on Patreon live on Saturday, October 18th at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Link is in the description. We are going to be talking about death spiritually, just the process of it, what happens with the elements in a really safe and respectful manner and a very death positive manner. And if you were searching to go deeper and have hands-on help to really refine your spiritual growth and give you a container that has structure, that has form, with also the give to have some organic experiences for your own soul growth, check out the link in the description. I have spots open in my 10-week spiritual mentorship course. It is a great way if you are ready to really take your spiritual growth to the next level. Okay, pile number 1. Until next time, I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day. Pile number 2. All right, pile number 2. If you skipped the intro, this is my first time doing an overall energy vibes of the next for the rest of 2025. So it's kind of a fun new adventure. This was a request by a viewer. So let's dive in. This is going to be your overall energy, work and money, love life, and your spiritual growth. So let's start with the overall vibe. The rest of your 2025 is actually super beautiful. This is going to be a time, I feel this way whenever fall happens. Like fall and spring are typically when I feel this internally, which is there's just something new and bright and fresh and rejuvenating. It is the gift that you get for being in the seasons that just match with your physiology, match with your personality really well. And this is you. You have this beautiful new start coming. It's a time where you find a lot of balance. You're just going to feel more balanced, more inspired, more like, yeah, you just feel. It reminds me of like going to the mountains when all of the aspens are turning bright yellow and red and orange. And it's like this whole hillside is just the most vibrant, beautiful colors, right? The leaves, yeah, they're dying, but they are just so gorgeous. Everything's so beautiful. It's like when you get to be in a cozy sweater and you've got, for me, a grande latte, but you've got your hot drink and you're like out viewing this beautiful nature spot and you feel the aliveness of life. You feel the peace of life. You feel surrendered to everything and just in flow with everything. So that's the rest of your vibe for the rest of 2025. It's just this beautiful dance that you've gotten down between mastering your interior world and playing in your exterior world. You're showing up, you're doing your work, you're doing the things, and at the same time, you're just having really balanced emotions and you're just having a really in-flow life experience, which is something we all hope for. So that is incredible. Now, in work and career, you actually have this opportunity to climb some ladders. So there's going to be some new opportunities for you. You're going to have to work at a little bit. It may be something that you have been working at for a period of time. The phrase that keeps coming back is climbing ladders, climbing ladders, climbing ladders. Like maybe you have been aiming for a promotion or you've been working up in your company. In this time, you are going to have this ability to actually reach those goals. It's taken a lot of strategy. You're still going to, need to strategize. What is the best way to show my work? What is the best way to get new clients? What is there's thoughtful planning, right? You're bringing strategy to the table. And at the same time, you do get this payoff. So this could be something that you've been working on for quite a while. It is coming in before the end of the year or by the end of the year. So if you've been aiming at getting a raise, you get that raise. A lot of companies like make those decisions in December, and you often don't know until January, but that decision for you will be favorable when the time comes. Or if you've been really working towards your next business venture and increasing sales and all that kind of good stuff, this is a really positive message that hard work is paying off, that strategic work, that good effort is really paying off for you. So that's really good. Your work looks pretty good, and even your finances, you are going to have to be a little strategic, like, balancing your budget and prioritizing what you really, really want. And at the end of the day, you will make it. You've got it. You're going to get through this. Over here in your love life, so this is really beautiful. This part, for all of you out there that not feel like you're in a relationship, that know you are in a relationship, this feels very sweet. It feels very much like you have a very nurturing relationship. What is this reminding me of? Cuff season, I think it's called. Don't quote me on that. I'm not always up on the terminology, but it's like where people partner up and they spend the season holidays together. It feels more like long-term relationship, soft, cushiony, just kind of lovely, like a loving energy to it. So really just follow your heart, speak up for yourself, ask for what you want, not what you think you can get, and continue to not only do nurturing yourself, but nurture your romantic relationship, nurture that person that is with you, and understand that the hope, you're nurturing hope, right? You're like, I want to keep growing this relationship. I see some potential here. I want to continue on with it. If you are single, this is a good sign that if you are actively wanting another partner, there is some hope for that coming up in this season. You are going to have to get yourself out there and then, do the things that you need to do to take good care of yourself. I think anytime that any of us are looking for partners, we want to make sure people love themselves enough to take care of themselves as they're putting themselves out there. So that's really what this is about. It feels very much like you're doing that. Maybe go to some dance classes, greenery, anything if you live in an area that has some really pretty gardens, which I know sounds strange as a fall message to go to a garden, but in some places they still have gardens open and available. But it's really about getting out into nature, being fully embodied in who you are, feeling connected to your personal rhythm, your personal body's rhythm, and having tender love and kindness really in your engagements, whether you're with a person or you're with yourself, and going out there and meeting people, because there is possibilities for you to be meeting that next person that you would want to have a relationship with. Now, up here in your spiritual growth, we have grief and expect a powerful change. Grief is not always the easiest teacher. And there is going to be a very large perception shift or personality shift, or the way that you relate to your spirituality, to the world. It may be a time when you are closing out a chapter with one teacher and you are finding a new teacher. So there is this acknowledgement that you are going to have to grieve something about your spiritual journey up into this point. And that could even be just having an ego death, right? That could be grieving. Well, this is what I said to one of my clients the other day. If you want the Ferrari, you have to let go of the Toyota. And that doesn't mean you don't shed tears over the Toyota. That doesn't mean you don't appreciate that you were driving that car that whole time. But if you want that upgrade, if you want that growth that you are going for, then sometimes you have to let the past go. there is also something happening here with this powerful change that feels very big, very, very big. Like a life event, and it's not necessarily a dangerous life event, but like a life event that just catapults your perspective to a whole nother level. You're just like, wow. It feels like an identity shift, like a full on something, maybe all of the little pieces that have happened, and now you've reached a peak spiritual experience, and then boom, everything shifts. And you're like, oh, I thought I was halfway up the mountain, and now I'm on top of the mountain. And now the world looks very different than it did when I was halfway on the mountain. And it looks very, very different than it did when I was at the bottom of the mountain. So it's not necessarily a catastrophic thing. And we have 2 new moons. But it's something that allows that next level of you to be in existence, right? And going back to this overall really balanced vibe, those kind of perspective shifts, sometimes it's deep peace. Sometimes you're in the aspens in the Rocky Mountains and everything's beautiful and you just hear the aspens, the leaves dancing and singing in the wind, and like you hit that deep peace moment and you're like, boom. I forgot how tired I was being a human. Wow. And you feel completely different, right? Or you've been working really hard at, maybe not working really hard. You've been putting a lot of good effort into your spiritual practices, and then boom, you get the experience. Boom, you get the expansion. You get the larger cosmic understanding. So those things, again, you can have that and give some respect and space for the grief that, yeah, I didn't know this before. I didn't have this before. Or sometimes for me, I'm like, I forgot what it feels like to be at this level of peace. And then I cry a little bit because I'm like, oh my God, how long has it been since I felt this much peace? Like it's that kind of experience. It's like, wow, this was really beautiful. And it also hurts a little bit because it's reminding me that I didn't have this before. So overall, that's a very positive thing. And again, your overall vibe is very, very positive for the rest of your 25. So these things aren't going to be tough things to go through. They're just like this deepening, expansive kind of experiences. Okay, pile number 2. If you like this message, don't forget to give me a like, a subscribe. Those things are free and I super appreciate it. And if you are wanting to dive deeper, check out my Patreon live on October 18th on Saturday, 11 a.m. We are talking about death, the spiritual qualities of death, the process of that in a very safe and respectful manner and a very death positive manner. And if you are ready to really take your spiritual growth deeper and want a structured, safe container to practice your energy skills of intuition and feeling energy, you want to be able to integrate all of these really common spiritual concepts that you can pull from pretty much any spiritual tradition and really understand the process of your personal transformation that you can carry with you for the rest of your life. Check out the link in the description to my 10-week spiritual mentorship program. It is just such a great way to get hands-on help. And it is, I designed the program I wish I would have had when I started. All right, pile number 2. Until next time, I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day. Pile number 3. All right, pile number 3. This is my first time doing the rest of your 2025 type of videos. I normally stick to life purpose and spiritual growth. So I'm pretty excited to do this. This was a request by a viewer. So thank you for that request. Okay, let's dive into this. This is going to be your overall vibe for the rest of your 2025. This is your work, money, career. This is love, and this is your spiritual growth. So let's first dive into how you feel about the rest. What's the vibe? What's the rest of the vibe of your 2025? This is a really important time. I have a saying that I use as a prayer of like, please Spirit, give me the clarity to know what I need to do, the courage to do what I know I need to do, and the compassion to deal with myself and everybody else involved in those things. And that feels very much like this top message. It is going to be all about your clarity, your courage, and your compassion. Life itself is asking you to grow and to step into and to fully embody and just go out there today, right now, and be the person you need to be. Really be very in tune with your intuition. Really take action when your heart says, hey, we got to do this thing. You got to have the courage to go and do the thing. If you are dealing with a difficult situation or person or people in your life, this is really a call to be very compassionate with them. And there's going to be a lot of these opportunities for you basically to say this prayer over and over in your life. Like, this feels very similar to, I'm not entirely sure which direction my life is going, or I'm trying to sort out what the next steps are. What is my trajectory? What do I want to do? What is my mission? What is my purpose? What is my desire? You know, it's like you're just trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's a really good prayer, or that's a really good intention or help for request for help, to allow your spirit teams, allow your guides, allow spirit, really read nature. Ask that, and then follow your intuition and read the nature, because there is something very, very important about this dream you've been holding. And you have to act with compassion with yourself and other people as you are stepping forward to that. If you've had people in your past be really big naysayers, it's time to release your failures. It's time to release the negative voices. It is really about you being confident that you can do it. And a lot of that comes down to really positive self-talk, like be your best coach ever internally. If you've got an inner critic in there, out-coach that inner critic. If you say one negative thing to yourself, make sure you have 5 positive things that you've got going on in there, because ultimately it just keeps coming back. It's like the nature itself is asking you to fulfill your desire. Like, hey, can you please do the thing that you feel called to do? Because that's going to be beneficial for all of us, and we really need it right now. And so there's a lot of support from nature itself, from the abundance around you, to do that and to help you with that. But you have to take the action, you know. Nature can't take the action for you. You're the person that got the idea. You need to take the action. Now down here in your work and money, it's interesting because there's a lot of fires. There's like just this strong fire energy. This is like bringing a blessing in, right? This bird is bringing the blessing of fire, this inspiration in. This is them warming themselves. I feel like there may be some fires you need to put out in the rest of your 2025, but just know that's only one part of the message, right? Like, you will be able to do that. It has to deal with the way you spend money, the way you think about money, and the way you safeguard your money, like your relationship to money. This would be a good time to do that practice that's very common to hear about, which is treat your money like a person and have those conversations with your money every single day. Like, you use ChatGPT, make yourself a little avatar of what money looks like, and then have conversations just simply so that you can work out your relationship with money, because blessings want to come in. This inspiration, this fire, this gift, this is a gift of fire. This is a gift of sustenance, really, right? Because now you can cook your food if you have the fire. You can stay warm if you have the fire. Well, money's like that. You can cook your food when you can pay your electricity bill. You can stay warm when you can pay your electricity bill, right? So there is this desire that spirit and nature, they want you to have the abundance. They want you to have a full flame in your life, a full bucket of money in your life. And they want you to find the right balance between inflow and outflow. And the same can be said for creativity, right? how you are showing up in work, how you are showing up in your business, the creative actions that you are taking. How much do you need to guard your energy? How much do you need to let out your energy? How much do you need to make sure you have reciprocity? Make sure you have, if you have a business, you have your sales funnel set up. If you're working, you are typically going to be on a pay cycle, but like you want to make sure you're producing good things for your company, right? So there's very much this call of understanding the inflow, the outflow, and then how to hold. So how much do you hold? And you can look at that in energy, you can look at it in money, you can look at that as creativity. Okay, over here in love, very interesting, very interesting. You have strength, Kali, and understanding. So I'm going to give you two. Don't be scared. Don't click off. Don't run away. I'm going to give you two versions of Kali. One's going to be a little bit on the rougher, breaky upside, which will just be a confirmation for those of you already thinking of that. And the other one is going to really be about strength. So for the rest of your 2025, there are some of you out there that are coming to your wit's end with a relationship. It is a burden. It's a drain. It is holding you back in your life. And Kali is coming into the rest of your 2025 to help you cut the cord, to help you break that relationship. I'm not going to necessarily advise you go out and break up the person today. This would be a confirmation for people who already feel like they're on the edge of that, right? It requires a lot of inner strength, and you have to remember that sometimes it's a disservice to stay with people if both of you are just getting drug under the water. Like there is absolutely time and a place to do all of the repair work and build and work on relationships. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you have to be the bigger person and understand this relationship is no longer healthy for both of us, and I need to go find my healthy. So there is that element to it. The other side of this, in your love life, you are really being asked to embrace your empowerment as a creator and to really deeply recognize you have the choice. The choices you wake up and make, the words that come out of your mouth, the actions that you take, the behaviors that you do or do not put up with. These things, it feels like you're a very balanced person when you are looking at these situations. You've got some good perspective on it. It doesn't feel like your heart is closed about this stuff, but it's really asking you to own your creative process, own who you are in your love life, and own the strength that you naturally come with. There's like the really common question on dating, which is like, what do you bring to the table? There's like no more of this sort of shrinking back. Like you sit down and your presence speaks for itself. You're like, what do I bring to the table? All of me. Like, what do you bring to the table? It doesn't need to be catty like that, but there is this really important thing about you being really strong in who you are, understanding the boundaries that you have, understanding the needs that you have, and then not playing the victim. Not being like, oh, I watched, a bajillion TikToks and this gender is all bad because of these things. It's like, I get to choose what kind of energy I pull to me. I get to choose what kind of behaviors I will or will not tolerate. I get to choose the words that come out of my mouth. I get to choose the behaviors that I'm doing. And all of those things have a huge amount of influence on who we interact with, on the kind of people that we pull for dating. And it's really about just letting this beautiful you shine. Like you're a freaking lion. You're a lioness. Like you are gorgeous. Go out there and be gorgeous, unashamedly so, right? A rose bush does not apologize for being beautiful. You do not need to apologize for your inner and outer beauty. Do not shrink. And really the rest of you 2025 is you getting to experience this, you understanding how strong you truly are, because you are. Up here in your spiritual growth, this feels like you've been stagnant for a while, my friend. So we have the end of a tough cycle approaches, and then choice, understanding consequences. So the end of a tough cycle, like the end of the tough cycle is looking at the choices. This feels like you've been through a period of some kind of plateau, stagnation. Like even if you are learning new spiritual things, nothing's really giving you any ahas or clicks. Or you've just had a really hard time getting restarted at something. So for example, say you had a meditation process and you're like, Kira, I've meditated forever. I'm having a really hard time getting going on that. This is letting you know that that is changing for you. So almost like if you were to see an astrological, in astrology, like sometimes certain transits, your progress just stops. It's just like, nope, it's time for you to digest and cook, and this is where you're going to be at, right? That kind of transit's gone. You're at the very end, it's gone. So the rest of your 2025, you are going to be faced with duality. And some of these might be high contrast duality events, but it feels more like you are going to be playing, what are those? Do you guys remember those books that were like choose your own adventure, and you would read through the pages, and that's like, if you want to do option A, go to this page. If you want to do option B, go to this page. That's what this feels like to me. It's like you are going through your day-to-day life and you're like, I could choose option A or option B. And then that takes you on a different part. It feels very maze, like you're going through a maze, which is really fascinating. But it's this study of choice. It's your consciousness studying, how do the choices impact and influence my life? What happens if I choose A versus choosing B? What happens if I follow my intuition or my heart? What happens if I only follow logic? What happens if I go this direction? What happens if I go that? It's like the human you might be a little befuddled at making the choice, but your consciousness is curious. Your consciousness is like, interesting. What if we go this route? Okay, that was the feedback. What if we go this route? And it's just like this really interesting study of that. This ties into your love part of your reading too. As you understand how the choices you make shape your life, there is like a breaking of the fourth wall of reality when those things culminate and it really hits your consciousness. You're like, oh, I made this choice, that was the outcome. I made this choice, that was the outcome. And like all of a sudden, this bigger picture web makes sense. You're like, that is why my life is this way, or that is my actual influence and power in the world, is me being able to make these choices. So it's a really fascinating rest of your 2025. Like if I were in your shoes, I would have a journal and I would put my little geek glasses on and be like, what are we doing? Because that kind of stuff, I mean, it's a really, really incredible thing to experience, how a web of choices impacts your life. And it is incredible to see how your choice in that web is affecting and influencing all of these other different things. It's really, really fascinating. The visualization that I'm getting right now from that is just like I want to talk to you about this more, because that kind of stuff, when you are able to put it together and it really makes the impact that you will get by the end of the year, you're going to understand some really cool stuff about life. Okay, pile number 3. This is your reading. If you like this message, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe. Join me over on Patreon Live on October 18th at 11 a.m. We are talking very respectfully, very positively about death and the spirituality associated with death. And if you, link is in the description to register for that. And if you want to dive deeper into your spiritual life and get one-on-one guidance and growth, help with your growth, link is in the description. I have opened up spots in my 10-week mentorship program. Until next time, pile number 3, I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day.